Welcome back to another conversation with the Brothers of Two Complex. We appreciate y'all for clicking on this video. We think you're going to love it. But before you get into the content, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you miss none of the bangers that we drop every single week. Enjoy the video. God bless. Logic is just to keep it with a little bit of a conversation around this, man, because him and his dad have had a strained relationship since, the beginning of time. I mean, I guess you can say, because he is in supposedly our community, and I mean, he has that in him, but they've had a strained relationship. And here recently, he was on he did an interview with his dad where they were talking about what he's responsible for when it comes to being the breadwinner of the family and what his family asked for. And here recently, his dad asked him for an $850,000 loan to buy a home for him and the band to stay in, to make their music, be creative, and to have the home for the band. And Logic refused. And he gave a bunch of different reasons as to why he refused, because of numerous times in the past where he's given family members money that they did nothing with and that they just blew through, and he's just basically tired of doing it. So my question to you is, D-Lo, do you have an obligation when you come into money to take care of family? Do you have that? Is that an obligation when you come into money? What you think?
I don't think there is an obligation to take care of your family when you come into money, but I would like to hope that if your family, especially your mother and father, your parents, did right by you by raising you as best they could, by instilling values into you, by nurturing you, sacrificing for you, that you would show them some form of appreciation. Now, that doesn't have to be giving them money or buying them homes, which what we typically see with some of our athletes and entertainers when they first come into money. They repay their mother and father, some of their family members, by buying them different things. It could be experiences that you grant, that you give them, sending them somewhere else for a little bit, not necessarily purchasing them a home or a car. So I would hope that would be the case. But if you are a parent that has not been a part of that child's life as they grew up, or it doesn't have a good relationship, you shouldn't feel any type of way if they don't buy you anything or they don't grant you any experiences, because you weren't there to build experiences with them as they grew up. So as far as the obligation, I don't think there is an obligation, but if there are individuals that instilled or put into you and help make you who you are today, when you do come into that money, I feel like you should, not should, but there is an expectation. I guess it's complicated.
Stay with it. Stay with it.
It's not an obligation, but if you're a decent human being, then you would probably offer back what they offered you growing up.
That's the word that I was looking for you to use, was expectation. And we've talked a couple of times on this podcast about how our community is a very proud community, right? And just as a personal situation, right? We've talked a couple of times on the podcast about how I went to the NFL, made a little bit of money, and not nothing crazy like 6-figure numbers. I made a couple $1,000s, just put it that way. And I was expected, it was an expectation that I helped my grandmother, who basically raised me, do some things and whatever. Now, just like to D-Lo's point, I consider myself a decent human being. My grandmother raised me, so I already had in my mind that I was going to help her regardless, right?
Yeah.
I already had in my mind I was going to help her regardless, but the push, not necessarily pushback, but the energy that I received from my family was, you got to do this type shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't even my grandma that was even pushing that upon me. It was my family. Like, you got to help grandma, right? I'm like, what do you mean I got to do something? Like, I understand what the expectation is, but don't push that expectation on me because it's gonna piss me off. Like to be
Right.
perfectly honest, which is gonna make me mad because you
Right.
telling me what I need to do with something that I earned. Right.
Yep.
So to Logic's point, in our community, that I feel like there's a very much an expectation upon you being the one that made it out, and you're being the one that is the breadwinner. You're the one that's successful. You're the one that has all of this money. There's an expectation for you to help the ones in your family that aren't as privileged as you. There's an expectation there, I feel like. And you can tell by the conversation that Logic had with his dad that he did that. He went along with the expectation many times. And now, right now, in this interview with his dad, he's fed up with the shit. And you can tell by his demeanor, you can tell by the way he talks to it, the way he was talking to his dad. Not that he was being disrespectful, but because he privied it with like, yo, I want to get this off my chest type shit. But you could tell he's tired of being the one that has to do all of these different things. And he laid out, if I got to buy you a house and I got to buy my sister a house, I got to buy my brother a house and I got to give him this. And then there's all the mouths in the house and there's bills and cell phones and this, that, and the third. And it's going to add up to a point where it just gets frustrating because you're doing all this for people who, from what he was saying, they don't appreciate it. They don't do anything with it. It comes off as unappreciated. And I feel that. I honestly feel that. Like, because sometimes there is a lack of appreciation from people who, oh, you got it. I mean, you making millions and millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. Sometimes that comes off that way. So that was the word I was looking for when you said you don't think it's an obligation. You didn't say it off the rip, but throughout your dialogue, you was like, he was like, I was like, nope, stay there, because it is an expectation. Yeah,
it's definitely an expectation, but it is not it should not, and
it should not be an obligation.
It is an obligation. Right?
I agree.
Like naturally, somebody took care of you when you were growing up. Now, when you come into whatever it is, you want to share that experience with them. You want to repay them for the things that they did for you, because everybody knows, like, it's widely said, like, a child does not choose to come into this world, but there are sacrifices that are made as a parent when you do have a child.
100%.
So you're the life as we know it when we were single, having no real cares in the world, just a few bills here and there. That goes up exponentially when you have a child, and so the sacrifices that are made. If you want to be a good parent, if you care about how your child ends up when they're older, you do a lot of things to instill certain values into them. You do a lot of things to make sure that they have certain experiences and they understand the possibilities that they can get out of life when they get older. And then when they achieve those possibilities, they achieve their goals. A good parent shouldn't really expect anything from them, but they understand that it may come back tenfold, whatever they instilled into you. I mean, that's rooted in biblical, right? You put in what you get out. You reap what you sow. And so if you sow good seeds, good fruit will come from that. You don't necessarily have to you shouldn't expect that, and it's not an obligation. But if you do good things come back to you. So,
and that was about to be. So you answered the question before I could even answer it. But my question was going to be, with you knowing me, us being brothers, and all the sacrifices that I've made for that young lady that's back there sleeping in that room, should I expect something from her whenever we get to that point? But of course, the answer is no. Because I don't expect it, because I am what I consider myself as a decent human being. So I'm not going to expect my daughter to do anything. But to your point, with the values and the experience and the memories that we've created throughout the years, and the good that I've done by my daughter, it'll probably come back tenfold, like D-Lo said, because I have instilled in her great values, or at least I've tried to, and I think I have, and me and her mother, not to take anything away from her, but she has been instilled great values. She's had experiences. She knows she can come to me for anything, and it's one of those things where I know I don't expect it. It's not an obligation, but I know it'll come back to me later on down the line, because I know my daughter will take care of me the same way I took care of her growing up. So, but in Logic's situation, from what we know about him and his dad's relationship, it really wasn't that though.
Relationship,
right? Yeah. So he in his mind, because putting myself in his situation. If it was me and my dad, fuck that nigga. I'm not giving him shit. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not giving him nothing. You know what I'm saying? And my little brother Sean, he watches the show, and I apologize because you whatever. But my relationship, he wouldn't get nothing, not a dime, because if I made it to that point, no, bro, like for what? Why? Like, nah. And that's kind of what his feeling was like. But he was kind enough throughout the years to do some of these things that they asked of him, and now he just frustrated with it. That he keeps getting asked for all of this bread, and he's not seeing anything fruitful come from his giving. You know what I'm saying? So, but I feel that, being in a lot of these situations.
I know a couple of individuals that have gone through this type of situation as well. They have provided different things for their family, and it's just like, when you give it to them once, they keep coming back. And that's the part that gets frustrating, because like you said, he provided them with the things that they came to him for, and he didn't see any return for that. And return, not necessarily mean like he the return is not necessarily saying I want something back for what I did for you. It's just saying, okay, I provided you with this relieved you of whatever stress that you had or concern that you had. And now, you are doing this because this was offered. You're doing this for yourself. I helped get you in a better situation. So you should ideally still move and try to make better
trend in the positive direction.
Right. Keep trending upward. But you either stayed the same and now you're back to me asking for something else, or you went down. Right. And so, like, I'm not going to be a crutch for you. Yes, you helped me along the way. Yes, you were there for me in whatever magnitude that you were there for me, that I thought enough of you to offer you this, or you came to me and I was like, sure, let's do this. But now you're back. At what point at what point do you start to do for yourself rather than coming back to me for whatever it is that you want?
Exactly, because it doesn't seem as if the people who he was helping use that money for anything that was going to, like you said, either help them trend forward or even really relieve any debt that they've had that is going to put more money in their pocket moving forward of their own work. And it's like, and I can feel that. I can 100% feel that, because it's tough. And me, myself, just being an average guy, whenever somebody asks me for something, and and I give it, I don't expect anything back. I not necessarily that I accept it as a loss, but it's like, okay, I know I have this that I can give, and I just throw it in the budget. I'm not even expecting anything to come back from it.
Right.
But knowing the situation that I'm in, if you keep coming back, it is like, okay, like, we both kind of in the same situation, my nigga. Like, what's going on with you? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
or you could end up in their situation. Like, right. So let's use somebody. Let's use logic, right? If he continues to give his family, every time they come back, that he continues to give to them, he could end up in the situation that they're in because he won't have any money. Like, at some point in time, you have to say no. And I think that's the issue in a lot of the situations that the people that we look up to as entertainers, as athletes, they come from similar situations as us. And so I know it's hard for them to say no. And because they understand, like, certain individuals were really their rock. And being the fact that they were their rock, they are willing to give to them easily. But if those people keep coming back to you, we see it all the time. I don't know the statistic right offhand, but a number of athletes, NBA and NFL, after their career is over, you see them end up bankrupt, because they've either made bad investments, they did bad with their money, but a big portion of it was giving to those that took care of them when they were younger, and continually giving to them to where they didn't budget their money well, and now they're back in the situation that they started with.
Very true, man. And I mean, shout out to Logic though for coming to his own conclusion and not, you know, and actually speaking out about it, because a lot of people would just harbor that emotion and it end up exploding later. And he actually came out and let his dad know, like, listen, I can't keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? And this is
Yeah.
why I didn't do this. And talking to everyone, because it was on a public setting, like, I could do this for you because I couldn't do it. I've been doing this for everybody else, and it hasn't been anything that positive came from it. So I got to stop. I have to stop.
Mhm.
So shout out to him for actually coming to that breaking point and not letting it overflow with emotion, and then being very stoic about the situation, letting his dad know, like, hey, this is why. But in his defense as well, again, he actually signed his dad and his band to his record label. And that's going to allow his dad to put money in his pocket and get in a better situation himself, so he can eventually blow up. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Logic for doing that too.